I would tell him that he didn't deserve to stutter, and that no one deserves to stutter or struggle to express themselves. I would tell him to be brave and live fully, to raise his hand in class and meet more people, despite the stutter. I would tell him to not define himself by stutter, and to remember all the other amazing things that are a part of him and his world, and to make the most of those things instead. If I could do so without destroying the fabric of space-time, I would get him to read Lee's book and learn about it much earlier. I would tell him to be patient and strong, because there will come a time when you are free of this burden. And while the road to get there will be long and hard, I would promise him that it'll be worth it, and that at the end of that journey, he'll become exactly the man he was always meant to be, and that at the end of it all, he will be truly and fully happy.
Wow, Shiraz, that was such an awesome speech. You just being such a great speaker, very engaging. I was hanging on to every word you said. Really awesome job, and I love that little advice to your past self section at the end. I feel like it gave it a really good ending.
How do you think it's possible to enjoy life even before seeing any improvement in your speech?
I know it's hard to enjoy life when you're stuttering and blocking on every word, because speaking is so essential to everything you do. Like you can't really meet people without, talking. You can't order food without talking. You really can't do much without talking. And so if you are stuttering and blocking constantly, it is going to be harder to fully enjoy life, but what's the alternative? Like just not talking ever? Just being in your room all the time and not living? I think that is a much worse outcome than just living life and stuttering anyway. Like I think, we're all special. We all have so much to offer. We hopefully all have people that love us and want us. I mean, I'm sure we all do. So I think to just, hide away and wait until you're fluent, you're wasting time. Like, certain people in your life won't always be there. Maybe you're fluent in a month and they're gone in a week. So why wait, until you're fluent? Like, I think it's better to just enjoy them now all you can, even if it's imperfect.
So, how are you dealing with the fear? What are you doing to help manage the fear?
Before this program, I would say that my fear, on a scale of 1 to 10, was probably an 8. Like, it wasn't completely high. There were presentations where I would just be naturally fluent somehow, and then there would be presentations where I would bomb. So it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to stutter all the time. Like, it was intermittent, so that gave me some comfort. Like I always had a bit of hope that maybe this presentation would be fine, and so that kept my fear a bit down. But now after the program, now that I have ways of actually keeping that fear down and actually managing my speech and addressing stuttering as it arises, I would say my fear is closer to maybe a 4. I think it goes beyond stuttering by this point. Like, presentations are naturally scary, like especially when there's really high levels of people involved or a large quantity of people. Like, I think it'll be very hard for even a fluent person to go down to like a 2 or a 1. So I think for now I'm at a 4, but to really manage it, I do practice a lot. Like before a big presentation, I rehearse constantly. I try to not read off a script, and so I do try to drill my key talking points into my brain. And then during the actual presentation, since I feel all of these nerves and anxiety and the urge to just blast through my content, like I'm kind of doing now, unfortunately, I do just try to put all of my energy into my passion instead. So I do try to speak more expressively, more passionately, because all of that energy needs to go somewhere. And if it's not going into my speed, I need to redirect it into emotion instead. And so that's what I do for fear.
Did you model your voice after a broadcaster or anything like that? Did you draw inspiration from any types of speakers to create this version of yourself? Because you speak brilliantly.
Thank you very much for that question and feedback. Unfortunately, I don't think I modeled it after only one person, but growing up and even now, I watch tons of movies, tons of television shows. Like I keep a running Excel of everything I watched, and I rate it all. I keep some notes for recommendations, so it's very comprehensive. So at this point, I've tracked, I watched over 400 movies, I've rated them all, I've ranked them all. And I think watching movies and TV shows where you have all these actors, speaking very well, I think it has, influenced me in some respects. Like, I live in a very particular part of Philadelphia where people have a very certain accent, but I've been told I don't have that accent. So clearly, I didn't get my speaking locally, and most likely I got it from all the television and media I watch. So seeing all these good speakers, seeing how they talk, watching actors during interviews, I believe that's really helped shape my voice and become what it is today.
Awesome. And I might need that Excel, Shiraz.
How do you face the fearful situations now, if you have any?
I mean, it's always a mixed bag because, I don't enjoy feeling stressed. I don't enjoy feeling anxious, but I do enjoy having a challenge. I do enjoy putting myself out there and having a chance to really let loose and be as passionate as I want. And presentations and stressful situations, they allow me to do that. They allow me to just go crazy, not worry about volume or passion or being too much. And so I do enjoy presentations for that alone. I don't always get these opportunities, but when they do come along, I do enjoy them, at least after the fact, because during them, my heart's racing, I feel lightheaded, I feel stressed and anxious, but over time that has gotten better. And as I continue doing these presentations and facing these fearful situations, I know it'll improve only more so. So that's where I'm currently at.
What is one thing that you see, unique about this program? Why do you think this program worked for you?
So going back to speech therapy, I mean, I learned all of the conventional tricks, like I learned light contacts and stuff like that. One really unique thing I learned was squeezing a stress ball as I spoke. Like, it was a very small soccer ball, completely soft. I kept it in my pocket. And then as I was talking, I would just squeeze it. And I think why it worked is it would distract me. Like, I think when I was squeezing that stress ball, I couldn't focus on my words. I couldn't focus on how I was talking because I would be so focused on gripping that stress ball in my pocket. And so for a while, that actually worked. I was able to get through whole presentations just by squeezing that tiny stress ball in my pocket. But then eventually it stopped being so distracting. I lost the novelty of that stress ball and it stopped working from that point on. And that brings me to this program where it's really much harder to lose that novelty. Like all the crutches, they constantly keep you on your toes. All the different ways of speaking, whether it's voice modulation, word linkage, they constantly give you new ways to change up your speech. So unlike the stress ball, which you can get kind of used to, it's much harder for your brain to get used to this while also thinking about stuttering. And the fact that it's developed by people who actually stutter themselves, I think that adds a unique perspective that most conventional speech therapy lacks.
What do you think finally pushed you over the edge? What did you do that finally got you to being a PWSS?
So I think when I first got with the program around 2021, I was working with Leia, and I got to a point where I was fairly fluent, but not completely. So I think the problem was, like, I was in college during that time. It was still COVID going on, so everyone was wearing a mask. People were, staying away from each other. So there wasn't really much of a reason for me to talk all that much. Like at that point, fluency became something nice to have, but I wasn't talking all that much anyway because of COVID, lockdowns, masking, all that. So it's like, okay, my speech is good enough. I'm not talking that much, so therefore I'm not blocking that much, so I can probably stop trying for now, and maybe it'll get better naturally on its own. And then all the lockdowns ended, people started talking again face to face, and then it's like, okay, it didn't get better on its own. I'm still stuttering as worse as I was before, and now I have this job coming up, this job that I worked very hard to get, and I don't want to mess it up. Like I worked hard to get here, I interviewed, I studied, and I wanted to make the most of it. So being fluent most of the time no longer cut it. And that's when I reconnected with the program, was coached by Prathusha, and then I finally became a PWSS, which I am today.
And how can you combine that passion with link? Because when you speak with a passion, your mind goes with the passion. It's not easy to use the link. So How can you combine passion with link while you speak?
I do believe passion and linkage kind of lead to each other. Like, I think when you're singing, you're naturally linking. And so passion, to me at least, is just a form of singing. Like, if you're speaking really passionately and really driving your words forward with conviction, you're going to end up linking naturally. Or at least that's what happens for me. Like, I think if you're really focused on passion and really focused on speaking with conviction, linkage will happen secondarily. So I think it's hard to focus on multiple things at once. And if you had to pick one thing to focus on, I would say to focus on passion, and then the linkage will just come behind it. That's what works for me, at least. If you're going to fail either way, you may as well do it on your own terms. Like, you may as well fail doing what you want, and if what you want is to speak loudly, then you should speak loudly. Like, I don't think it's worth holding back for something that might or might not happen, and it's better to just do what you want and then deal with the aftermath as it comes. I think that's a better way to approach things than constantly living in fear of what ifs. Like, just do what you want, and what happens, happens.
Okay. First, great job, Noah, hosting. But I want to applaud Shiraz. He may have you may be the best speaker I've ever heard here of PWS, and we've heard how many 200, 300, I don't know, but you've done a fantastic job here today, and I can't applaud you enough. Noah, thank you again for all of your work today.
It's now time to close our meeting. I hope that you enjoyed exchanging thoughts with ex-stutterers and those fast becoming ex-stutterers. I will now end with our motto. If you can say one word anywhere, anytime, you can say and love to say any word, anywhere, anytime. Until next Saturday, everybody. Have a great weekend. Unlock your voice with StopStutter.